Welcome back, folks, to another review of Fear of the Walking Dead. This is episode 11, The Holding. Now, I have to start off this review by saying that there's no spoilers here, so my full-blown recap and discussion drops after the episode premieres on Sunday on AMC, so look for that night. But this is episode 11, The Holding. My review, the synopsis read, a infiltration turns rescue mission as members of the group dig deeper into the underground community. So we know from the last episode that Dakota had the whereabouts of where this community may exist. Virginia was on their heels, and obviously the Virginia demise means that there's no more of that. But nonetheless, that threat still exists. And Virginia recognized it as a threat. Now that Morgan has his community, that threat is still out there. And then there's a lot of questions that people need answers for. These markings that are all around the city, these numerous attacks from all these other smaller communities and holdings that people have, and they all seem to tie to this other mysterious group of people that no one knows about. So they go check it out. Wes, Al, and Alicia are the head of this recon mission, and it does lead them to this underground community. And while they are accepted in, they are now on recon to kind of figure out who are these people, how do they operate, why are they underground, are they responsible for some of these acts of terror, should I say, that's been happening all around. And then at the same time too, these people are like, well, who are you all? We want to know your backstory. And while everyone has questions, there's also a lot of questions people are looking for in self. So, while all this is happening and this sort of interview screening process, the group definitely have self questions for themselves. But what's cool about this episode is that Wes, we finally get some Wes, front and focal to this entire episode. I love that he's getting to shine. And I like what they did in this episode because we're getting to see a lot more depth to his character and some really interesting things happening that you just probably wouldn't expect for it to happen, much like he didn't expect to happen. So some really strange chance encounters that he never thought would happen. So very interesting. I also will go over to Alicia, who is a complete badass, as she always is. She's not to be played with, and she makes it known each and every time. She comes off as just a baby face and just hiding in the back, or just kind of quiet and reserved. But she's not to be played with. This is why she's a survivor, and this is why she's been out on her own thus long since the beginning of the Fear of the Walking Dead. Because she just knows how to survive, and she just knows when she knows when to pick her moments. That's what I'll say. But for the most part, this episode was really positive and innocent. It had this really subtle tone to it. But then about the last 10 or something minutes, it turns into the complete Walking Dead. And all the Walking Dead stuff starts to happen. With that being said, too, I a lot of the reasons why I like The Walking Dead is because it's always the mystery, what are they going to do with the walkers next? And this episode did something very different and unique as well, and I thought it was pretty cool. I love the design of the walkers in this, and I love some of what they did ultimately with them. And I wish I would have got just a little bit more of the visuals, because I thought it could have been really, really cool. But for what it's worth, I like what they did. This underground community, I will say that they are very interesting because their act of survival makes a lot of sense to me. It's really some basic elementary science being used here. And I'm definitely you know what? That's not a bad idea. And to be honest, this is a feeling process between Alicia and them and this group. And to me, it's sort of well, beyond trying to figure out who's, is responsible for the bombing of Tank Town. And, I'll say it right now, some actions are just unforgivable, regardless of who it is and what it was. Some things are just unforgivable. And the action of Tank Town is completely unforgivable. But while they're in the midst of trying to figure out who's what and what and what, when you think about the philosophy of their survival, you're thinking like, this is really not a bad idea. And like, and how they're doing it, and ultimately what's their goal in doing so. It's like, I'm not sure, do you really calculate them as a threat beyond the idea like they may be, responsible for the things on the surface. So that's really some of the interesting dynamics that happens within this, which a lot of these things are answered, which I won't spoil you. But like, it's that dynamic that as the viewer that you're going through, like, you know what? But we all know The Walking Dead. When something seems so innocent and something seems just so like, oh God, this is a alternative solution. It's always the whole there like, yeah, I'm not trusting this. Anything that seems too good to be true probably is. So, but nonetheless, very good episode. I love this one shot of Alicia towards the end of this episode where she's holding a match. I thought it was totally badass how they shot that. And she's just so badass. So like, it just all fits so well together. And then we finally get to see John Glover's character revealed. John Glover was casted later of last year, being added to the Fear the Walking Dead family, but we never knew what he was going to be. And I will say that if you are any fan of his work from either Shazam or Batman the Animated Series, then he has this really sort of sadistic feel and tone to him, but also plays really innocent and is really tricky. Much like the Riddler that he plays. So the shoe fits. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, very cool to see him, and I can't wait to see what's next with everything. So this episode was pretty dope. I mean, again, the first 2 episodes are the return episodes for season 6. I mean, they're just unspeakable. And the last episode kind of normalized things a little bit again. This one continues that, and I think we're still trying to figure out the identity as to who's actually going to be the bad guy moving forward for the rest of this season. And that's really where we're going at with that. More and more things are starting to be revealed. And overall, it's setting up to be something seems to be a little bit more unconventional, but yet interesting. That's what I'm here for. So yeah, folks, this is episode 11, The Holding of Fear the Walking Dead. Again, my full-blown recap and spoiler review, shall I say, or for spoiler recap, will be releasing after the conclusion of the episode on Sunday. So as always, folks, drop in the comments. Let me know, are you excited for this episode and your predictions for this episode? And I'll see you around for when that recap drops. Thank you for watching, folks.